Hey, welcome to another update on Archmage Rises. And the news this week is I'm not dead.
Yay!
Yay! There are many people rejoicing and a few that are not. Okay, we got three things I'm going to talk about here. Try and keep it a short video. This is not a demo of the game video. For those that are looking for that, you can just skip on ahead. For those that are wondering about my health situation and such, I'm going to give you some more details about that and how Archmage Rise is going to continue on. But first I want to talk a little bit about the economy. Shall we talk about the economy, Nick?
Let's do it.
Okay, so for the longest time, well, actually, let me start from the very beginning. So one of my initial inspirations for the game, like one of the things I draw a lot from, is from Sid Meier's Pirates. One of the things that's exciting for me about a game is when it says like it has kind of a supply-demand economy, or a real-world economy or something like that, right? So if I see that in a Steam description or in a trailer, that's kind of an instant buy thing for me. I get very excited about that. I play a lot of trading games from the Anno series, Patrician, Railroad Tycoon. Like there's a whole bunch of those kinds of simulator games that I enjoy playing. So I started pursuing that, and we've built a lot. The economy in build 11 doesn't work yet, and so that's why I'm like working on to try and make it work. It's not quite playable yet. Anyway, so I'm pursuing this real world economy thing with supply and demand and all this stuff, and it's kind of taking a lot of effort. And then that made me, so some person mentioned on the forums Mountain Blade, and I went and I took a look at Mountain Blade, and I was like, holy cow, they were cheating a lot in this thing. And I don't know, for some reason that just kind of, rattled my head a bit out of where I was kind of stuck with, like, it has to be this real supply-demand economy. And so then I started looking at some other games, and ironically I went back to Pirates, and Pirates doesn't even close to having a real economy. All it does is it has like a ship that gets generated from one port, and then it like sails along to another port. And if it makes it there, then both ports are like happy, like they go up. And if it doesn't make it there, then nothing happens. It just stays the way that it is. And then there's some boats that if they do arrive, like privateers or raiders or something like that, if they arrive, then it brings things down. And so I was like, holy cow, is that ever simple? And so then I created a forum thread on Steam called Real versus Unreal Economy. And we're having a pretty good discussion over there with Bridge of Blues, Game Boon, Will Sama, MS Adams, Soma Games, Donna's Best, Shadow Rebel of Executivity. I don't even know what that is. Duran and Weor. And myself. So we've been talking about this economy thing, and what I would like to know from people out there is, do you care if it's a real supply-demand economy? It's realistic, because that's what we've built sort of so far, is that one guy makes like 4 pieces of metal in one town. Those 4 pieces of metal like travel along the road, and they end up somewhere, and you can trace it. You can we can trace it. I don't know if the player can trace it, but anyway. There's some ways that we can kind of cheat at that and still kind of give the same feel, or I would even say maybe even improve the feel. So that's one of those things. It's like, yeah, sure, it might be super realistic and that's really cool, but it doesn't play that great. Versus, hey, we're cheating, feels great. Who cares? Like we're cheating. So that's a discussion. If you're interested in jumping in on that, you'll see there's a whole bunch of comments on there, and I'm very much working on this and very interested in that. And so you can jump in and give me your comments, and that will affect how the game is made, which is kind of the point of this community stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But Nick has some feelings on economy. Do you want to share them?
The thing that I worry about is that as an open world game, we want it to be as open as possible. So, and I think we both agree on this. Like,
I want a closed open world game.
if the game, if faking the economy doesn't affect the opportunities that you have, meaning you could burn down a house, or something happens to a hex that's producing it. Like having all the variables real means that you can go in, you can sort of see how the system is working in a town. You can throw a wrench in it or help them pull the wrench out, right? So that's the thing that I want to preserve more than anything, is that I want it to feel like the decisions that you're making really affect the world. And so that's mainly why I'm really want it to be real because I figure the more real it is, the more chance that'll have to happen. Now, it's definitely possible that you can make the economy, and you can fake it in some ways, right? And then, like, maybe the guy doesn't actually have to travel. He's not actually carrying the goods necessarily, right? There's probably things he can do. But that's sort of why my stick in the mud, everything should be real feeling is there, because there's all these opportunities in an open world game that you don't even know that are there when you design it. And that's what excites me, right? Is playing it and like going, oh my gosh, I just learned something new. You didn't program it. It's just, something happened, emergently in the system. And so as much of that as we can keep in the game, I think we want to have. So that's my position.
Yeah. And I'm not looking to cancel that in the game, but I'm wondering, is it really that important strictly within the economy, right? Like, so that's the question, that's the discussion, and we're inviting you to jump in and join on that. Okay, next thing is about my health. So my potential death has been potentially good for business. So if I was a smarter man, maybe we would have done this sooner. But we got a bunch of people that have shown up, and some that have pre-ordered the game just to help support me. and I want to say thank you to all the people that have prayed for me and sent me well wishes, or just ordered the game for support or whatever. I appreciate that. So does my wife. So I wanted to give people an update on the health side of things. So I have two issues. Okay, one of them is known and one of them is not known. Okay, so the known issue is I have blurriness in this eye. This is my left eye, and when I wake up in the morning, it's like really blurry. And I'll show that in the video, because I made an example for my eye doctor, so she see exactly what I'm talking about when it's blurry. So I wake up in the morning and I have about, at this point now, it's about 7 or 8 hours of blurry, and then it kind of eases up, and then I can actually see pretty well. So at this exact moment, I can see every hair on Nick's beard, because I've been awake for 7 or 8 hours, and I can actually see things fairly clearly. So that is called RVO or CRVO, which is a retinal vein obstruction, and that is like my blood clotted on my retina and kind of screwed things up. But the second part of that, along with that, is what is called Macular Edema, which means swollen macula. So I'll throw some pictures up here. So basically, your macula is like very, very thin, and that's what allows the light to come through and get to your rods and cones, and you can like see stuff. And because of issues that we don't yet know, but because of issues, mine like swells up, and as it swells, everything gets blurry. And then there's like holes in the swelling that you can see through the retinal scan. It looks like Swiss cheese in there. So it's so the good news is that I've been going to the eye doctor for the last couple of weeks. But every time I go there, I've been up for like kind of 6-7 hours or whatever. And, she's doing these eye tests on me, and I'm passing them. And so I said, you know what? I'm really bad in the morning. I know that this is like common sense. But anyway, I said, it's really bad in the morning. I'm going to go in the morning to the appointment. And then this is a great example of like, be careful what you wish for, because I'm like, yeah, you really need this morning appointment, whatever. And for those that don't know, game devs, we don't get out of bed till like 9:30, 10 o'clock, maybe 10:30 or something like that. So anyways, the doctor office, they call me back. They say, okay, we've managed to move your appointment to the morning. We fit you in. We got you at 8 a.m. And I'm like, I live an hour away. I'm like, no, I got to leave the house at like 7 in the morning. This sucks. Of course I'm not going to be able to see. I didn't have any sleep. Anyway, so I went to the doctor in the morning, and she saw like all swollen, and she's like, aha, we can do something about the swelling. Not what caused it, the swelling, but we can like make the swelling go down so that I don't have that 7 hours of blurriness. And the solution to that is only needles to the eye.
Oh man.
Needles to the eye. So when she first told me about that like a couple of weeks ago, she's like, okay, so it's needles to the eye, and you have to do them once a month, and probably for a year. I'm like, yeah, I'll go blind. Like, I'm just not interested. The cure is far, far worse than the disease, right?
Juice isn't worth the squeeze.
That's right. So this time when she's like, yeah, okay, I see the problem. This is the solution. Needles to the eye. She didn't explain it, but my gist, my understanding of it is, they shoot this stuff into my eye, and it stops the macula from swelling. It like goes back to being very thin, and then I shouldn't get the blurriness in the morning. So anyways, it sure would be nice to not have blurriness in the morning, be able to really work right away. Because most of the time I'm kind of like working like this, which is quite difficult. But anyway, and then she's like, okay, now here's the thing about the needles. They're $1,500 each. And I'm like, holy cow. Not only do I have to get needles to the eye, they're $1,500.
Just tell them you'll bring your own needles.
Needle to the eye. Yeah. So I'm like, this is insane. So Bayer makes the needle, the injections. And anyways, they have this program where Bayer will basically give you $500 off. And if you have coverage and whatever, if the government's buying it or something like that, they charge them $1,500. But if you're a person individually buying it because you're going blind, they will take $500 off. Aren't they a nice company? You can't say Big Pharma doesn't care when they're willing to take $500 off of your medication. Okay, so anyways, because I live in Canada and I live in Ontario, there's like this thing that I can apply for, and if I pay 4% of my annual wage, which is actually quite low because I blow all my money on this game. If I pay 4% of my annual wage, then they will cover all of my medications. So it ends up being not too much money for me to apply to this program, and then they cover the year's worth of injections. So so there's been some small blessings in this thing. Okay, so that brings us to the bigger point, which is, why do I have CVO or CRVO or just RVO? And that is still an unknown. And if anybody was to search up like causes of RVO or retinal vein occlusion, if you were to look that up, you will see some terrible things, which I don't really want to talk about. So we don't know what those things are. I've gone for my blood work and such. Still waiting for results back on that. And so I was in a real dark place this past week, like basically starting with last Saturday, actually just after I shot this video, or like last week's video, just kind of thinking about, you know, my own mortality and what is wrong with me. And the thing I was really, really worried about was like, we don't know what caused it in my left eye, what could cause it in my right eye, right? Like that was really freaking me out on Saturday night. And so I asked the doctor that exact question, and she said, actually, most of the people only ever have it in one eye. So like there's a high probability that it will only be your left eye for good. I mean, nothing is for sure, but that certainly makes me feel a little bit better when I'm trying to go to sleep at night and I can't read my Kindle because my eye's all blurry again. And I'm like, oh no, what's gonna happen? So so that was good news, but the source issue, we don't yet know. And so, first of all, yeah, I was kind of in a dark place. I didn't get a lot of work done this week, which I apologize for. I don't know if I need to apologize for that, but anyways, you know, part of me, you know, I'm always like whipping myself, right? I'm like, well, I can see right now, right? Like I haven't totally lost my left eye. So if, you know, 3 months from now, I totally lose sight in my left eye, I'd be like, man, why didn't I get more done when I first, you know, found out about this thing? And the answer is because I just found out about this thing and it was hard to work. So anyway, one of the things I needed to do was really think through what happens to Archmage Rises if I don't last before it releases. And, you know, I went to my wife and said, you know, this is important to me. I think I want to make some plans for that. And so she's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I mean, she's just looking at the payday because I have a really good insurance coverage right now on me. And so if I croak, she gets $2 million. So the chances of Archmage Rises making $2 million is like kind of low. And the chances of me dying and she gets $2 million is like real high. So she's like, yeah, sure. Finish the game when you're dead. Yeah, let's do that. Anyways, I kid. So I've been working on this game for just over 4 years. If I don't finish Archmage Rises, or if it doesn't get released, then I've wasted my time. I mean, I met Nick, and we got to work together and argue about a bunch of things about game dev. I mean, that's enjoyable and everything. But it's just, I read about these things in Gamasutra about like, oh, I worked on this title, and then it got canceled after 3 years or something like that. Like, that's kind of what I'm going through or thinking about, right? Is like, man, that really sucks. Like, I really could have put that time towards something else. I mean, I don't rather not have done anything else. I'm actually doing the thing that I want to do. But anyways, it just sucks to like work so hard on something and then, to not be able to finish it or not have it release. There's two different things. One is I want to finish it, but even if I can't finish it, I would like to see it get finished and know that I wasn't wasting my time all that time. And, the fans weren't wasting their time following it and watching 66 update videos and all this stuff, right? So to that end, I've contacted each person on the project team, except for Andrew, the writer. I should probably talk to him about it, but anyways, I'll just throw in his answer with everybody else's. But anyway, so I talked with Nick, I talked with Roger, I talked with my wife and said, listen, if I pass away, will you finish the game? And they have said yes. We will finish the game and figure out some kind of way in order to do that. So if my wife ends up with $2 million, she'll have money in order to be able to pay for people to finish the game. And so that would be really good. So the one thing that came up was, Nick can program, Roger can do the visuals, James can do the sound, Andrew can do the writing. But what about the design stuff? And so on that front, Nick, you're not a hardcore role-playing guy, right? Don't have tabletop experience. Actually, our sound guy, James, has the most tabletop experience, and I never talk to him, so it's clearly mixed up. But what I thought was, what if we got some super fans that are already in the Fan Hall of Fame, and we were to elevate 3 of them to what I call the Small Council, because I'm really excited about the final season of Game of Thrones, and I like calling things the Small Council. So what if we got 3 of them to be like the Small Council, and they could drive the design of the game? Now, it wouldn't be totally out of nothing, just like, we just added rocket launchers. Yes. I have a design document that's about 200 pages long. We have a backstory document that's, 30 pages long. There's a lot of assets that have been created to do this thing, but there's a lot of specifics that haven't been nailed out. And that's just part of game dev is you have ideas, ideas on the whiteboard and all that. And that's all documented. This is, the goal, how it's supposed to feel. This is how we think it'll work. And then when you actually code it up or you actually design the screen, there's that's not going to work. Or, So we need someone in order to say, let's do A and not do B or something like that. Or when Roger and Nick are struggling with something what do we want here? Do we want this? Do we want that? We want some other thing? There needs to be someone to answer that. And so I thought it would be good if it was a small group of 3 people, because that's really manageable, that you, Nick, and Roger could interact with and just nail that down. Now, that doesn't mean that people on the forums wouldn't also maybe be asked and participate in those conversations and stuff, but sometimes you just need fast turnaround. Sometimes you need big decisions that are made, and it's hard on a forum post to give all the backstory before you can ask the question and get an answer and stuff. So it's just that's kind of the idea. So I have emailed 5 people, and actually that's a lie. I've emailed 4 people because D-Row won't give me his email address, and I don't understand why he hasn't done that. Now I have to say that because I have no other way to get a hold of him. I've PM'd him. I've done forum posts saying, hey, D-Row, send me your email address, and the guy hasn't done it. Maybe he just doesn't want to hear from me, and that's cool. So anyway, the idea... Pardon?
I don't blame him.
Yeah, it's true. So he's like, I got enough of you just watching the videos. Mm-hmm. So anyways, my hope is that out of the 5 people that I've approached, or 4, I wasn't going to announce the names, but I have no other way of saying D-Row without saying D-Row. So of the 5 people that I approach, I'm hoping that 3 will say, yeah, okay, I'll participate in that. I've already got 2 yeses back, and I'm waiting to hear back from the others while I record this. And so I've put everything together that Archmage Rises can still continue and be finished even without me, and that makes me feel good. I don't know, I have a very logical mind, and I'm just okay, will the game be released even if I die? Yes. Okay, now I can move forward. Otherwise, if I'm working really hard on the game and it's not going to be finished without me, and I die days away or months away or something, like, then I'm like, well, that was a waste even of my last few months or something. I should have done something else with it, right? So anyways, that just really helps me. I don't know.
Just want to have the contingencies all set up, right? So you can keep moving forward.
Yeah. So some people have said, like, my wife, for instance, she's like you don't even have a diagnosis that, tells you that, right? And I'm like, yeah, well, hold on. If there's like 17 cards on the table and 15 of them are lethal, it's not ridiculous to think about, these kinds of things. Anyway, she thinks it's premature, but so fine, it's premature. I don't care. I needed to do it, so I've done it. So we have a team in place for the game to continue, and that makes me feel good, and I hope that makes other people feel good. If people have questions about that, then go ahead. Now, one thing that scares me is that the game would actually be better if I did die and these 3 guys took over and designed it. They would probably do a better job than me.
We'd ruin it.
Yeah.
That's why you don't trust us with it. You have to bring in the community. I know it's true.
Well, yeah. Anyway, so that's what I thought of. But instead of having such a morbid view on the small council, I have thought about, if I've created this, these guys have said, yes, I'll step up to another, level of responsibility on this project, beyond just, answering things in the forum. Maybe there's some other things that small council can be used for. And so I was thinking, if and when I finally have a build 11, I'll send it to those 3 guys first and get that initial feedback, get some early feedback from them. And then we can tune it some more before it goes out to kind of everybody and stuff. So that's just like one example of small council. So I'm happy to announce who's on the small council when I finally get all the answers in.
Yeah, so basically the Lich everybody's been asking for, you will be the Lich. If you die, all your life force gets put into the game.
That is correct.
And you'll live as an NPC.
That's right.
Thomas the Great.
I don't know if that'd be my title, but anyways, that would be cool, actually, if I ended up being a character in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And all he does is go around and say, no, not like that, like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, he could pretty much replace me with a Skype bot.
No, that pixel needs to be 2 to the left. It must be perfect.
Hey, well, now that I can't see very well out of both eyes, maybe that stuff will go away, Nick. I'll be far less picky because I can't see it.
That's right. It looks good to me.
That's right. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about, was that plan forward. And I don't know how many people were worried about that or thinking about it or whatever. Maybe I'm the only one who was worried about it, but I just thought I'd share that with everybody. And, basically by Wednesday, Thursday of this week, I kind of got out of that dark place and was like, okay, now I'm ready to move forward. And that's why you see a lot more chatter on the forums about the economy and stuff, because I'm moving forward. I'm moving forward, working on the economy, and I want to make it super fun and great.
Good. Me too. Survive, Thomas. Survive.
So, as usual, I've done 95% of all the talking here. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say, Nick, before we go.
You know me. I'm happy listening.
Okay, well, it's the rubber ducky effect. Glad to have you here. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Again, thanks for the encouragement along the way. It was real useful. Like, I'll just give you one quick example. I'm sorry I forget the guy that said this, right? But he said, one guy posted, I forget even if it was YouTube or whatever. But anyways, he said, hey, if you are 40 and you have the problem of an 80-year-old, your chances of recovery are probably pretty high. Now, that was really, really helpful. Like, that really made me feel better. Again, this like logical part of me was like, he's totally right. And then I just started feeling better. So I just wanted to thank him and others. Say that stuff matters. Like, it really matters. And so when I was with the eye doctor, I actually brought that up, and she said, yeah, because you're young, so-called young, your chances of recovery with these needles to the eye is actually very high. And so I was like, okay, that's cool. That obviously makes me feel better. So, anyways, thank you everybody for what you've done. And if you haven't done anything, I'll thank you too. Okay, so we got to go. Today is Good Friday. I hope everybody has Good Friday and a very happy Easter. Bye.